Hello, my name is T. I'm going to give my experience for having a miscarriage for 2.5, 3 months. Yes, that's a long time, but trust me, it happened. So I want to just start from the beginning to basically where I am now. It's an emotional story for me. I'm kind of emotional now, but I'm gonna just be strong and just tell the story for you guys. So on March 30th, was when I found out I was having a miscarriage. Prior to March 30th, I had my first doctor's appointment to hear my baby's heartbeat. Now, 4 or 5 days before that, it was a strong heartbeat. Mind you, at this point, I'm about 12 weeks. Why did it take so long for me to hear a heartbeat at 12 weeks? Well, when I was at 8 weeks or 6 weeks, I went into the pregnancy center in my city. I don't have a doctor, and I went there to confirm my pregnancy. Not to confirm it, Lord, I'm kind of, okay. I went to go hear my baby's first heartbeat. That's the place I went to confirm my pregnancy, but this time I'm going to, hear my baby's first heartbeat. I went there and they were just like, we can't really see your baby at this point. We can't find a heartbeat. And I'm like freaking out. I'm scared. I'm like, I want to cry at this point. They're just like, don't, it happens. It could be that you're sooner in your pregnancy than we expected. I'm like, okay, cool. But still, I'm kind of sad. So they'll just come back in like 2 weeks. I come back in 2 weeks. They can see my baby on the ultrasound, but my baby's really small. And they're just like, okay, so we see a baby, but we still can't confirm the heartbeat. We want you to come back. I'm like, well, I have a doctor's appointment coming up. So when I go, I'll see if they can confirm the heartbeat there. So they were like, okay, cool. So I got to my first doctor's appointment. They were able to find a heartbeat. And I'm excited because now I'm not freaking out. Because before I was like, did I lose my baby? What's going on? Like, I'm freaking out here. They're just like, no, it happens, you could have gotten pregnant and then you're just sooner than expected. I'm like, okay, cool. So when they confirmed the heartbeat, I was just like really, really excited, like really happy. So then like 4 or 5 days later, which is March 30th, I'm at home and like I'm having like little minor cramps. And, I use the bathroom. I see brown discharge. I'm like looking it up on my phone like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Could this not be a miscarriage or whatever? And it was just like, if you see it, and you're concerned, go to the doctor. So I went to our women's hospital that we have that just opened up by my house. So I went there and I'm there for like hours and they're just like, basically that I had miscarried 5 to 6 weeks prior. And I'm just like, how? If they just told me a couple days ago they confirmed the heartbeat, they were just like, oh, well, no, it was your heartbeat. I'm like, what? So that's a whole nother thing. So I'm like, okay, is there anything you can give me to speed up the miscarriage? Any pills, any type of surgery or anything to do? It was like, they were just like, well, due to COVID-19, we can't do any type of surgeries for you right now. This is right before everything started to shut down. So I was just like, okay. They was like, well, since you're doing your miscarriage naturally, just basically let it happen. March 31st comes along. The whole day, of course, I'm having bad cramps, like really bad cramps. And of course, in my head, I'm like, okay, well, this is because of miscarriage. And so later that night, I see my first blood clot. I'm crying because I'm like, oh, my baby, and everything like that. And I'm crying and I'm hurt. And then like, after that, I started to fill up my sanitary napkins. I'm gonna say that, like every 5 minutes. I'm like, this is odd. When I use the bathroom, it's like I can't stop the blood clots from coming out of my body. It's like the size of my fist and sometimes even bigger. And it just keeps coming out and coming out and coming out. And I'm just like, what's going on? So then like finally, like when I initially get up off the toilet, I checked my paperwork they gave me on the 30th and it was like, oh, if it's larger than the size of an almond, which I know isn't really that big, come back in. So, of course, when my partner got off work, I was okay, babe, we need to go to the hospital because my blood clots are bigger than an almond. So we go to the hospital and I'm there and like, but I swear we were only 10 minutes away from the hospital and I had, for one, went through 2 pair of underwear because of how much I was bleeding. And when I went to the hospital, I had bled through the sweatpants and my underwear that I had on. And so it was a very horrible experience for me. Like, I was trying to be strong, but it was like really hard. So we get to the hospital, and of course they have me in robe. And, you know, I'm laying there, and my first thing is I'm laying on the table, or the little mat thing that they have us lay on, and like things are just shooting out of my body. I don't really want to look, but I can tell it's like a really big, it was like that big of a blood clot just shooting out of me. And I'm just like really scared, and I'm just like pressing a button. I'm like, this is my lip stuff. I'm like, I have really big blood clots coming out of me. Like, somebody come in here, what's going on? So of course someone comes on there, and they're just like, oh, a nurse will be with you shortly. I'm like, okay. They said, just let everything just come out naturally. I mean, it's not like I can stop it because it's literally coming out without me stopping. So time goes on. You know, I have someone come in and check on me, and like, I'm losing so much freaking blood. Like, I'm losing so much blood. And of course it's like maybe 70 degrees in the room, maybe. And then like, I get really hot. Like, when I say really hot, like, I'm just like, okay, I need something to drink because I feel like I'm about to throw up. And it's just like, oh no, we can't give you anything to drink. We can give you some ice chips. I'm like, okay, well, can you give me a rag for my forehead? Because like, I'm not feeling good at this point. So they give me a rag for my forehead, and then eventually, you know, a nurse comes in. And it's kind of just a little tad bit fuzzy, but I remember a nurse coming in, and, you know, of course, I don't really know all of the terminology, but of course I had to put my legs up, and they had to use a little thing where they just opened me up. And then next thing you know, she was like, push. I'm like, push? She's like, push. I'm like, push what? I don't know what I'm pushing at this point. I just know that I'm pushing for dear life, and I want to cry. And my partner, he's just beside me, just comforting me, just making sure that I'm okay. And all I know is more and more blood clots coming out, and even bigger. I don't know if it was a blood clot or if it was a placenta that came out, but it hurt. And then I felt a release when it came out, and I felt it was like a warm feeling down there when it came out. And so like, after that came out, they just took more things came out. They was putting everything in like little bowls or cups, I guess, to test. And so after they did that, about 15 minutes later, they were just like, okay, we're going to give you a vaginal ultrasound. I'm like, okay, we can do that. So I'm just laying down. I'm trying to be positive, but it's a very hard moment for me. This is my very first pregnancy after I removed my birth control that I've had for about 6 years. So it's kind of heartbreaking for me. So it's like, okay, we're going to go do your vaginal ultrasound. Mind you, I've been laying down this whole time. We had been at the hospital for like 2.5, 3 hours already. And I stand up, and it's like, I'm weak, very weak. And of course, they're trying to get me to go into this wheelchair, but it's really hard to walk to the wheelchair. And so I go to the wheelchair, and I sit down, and I feel like I'm about to throw up. And me personally, I hate throwing up. Like, I absolutely hate it, like really bad. Like, I even hated when I was having morning sickness. I hated it so bad. So I'm like, I'm about to throw up. Can I please get some water? We can't give you any water, ma'am. We can just give you ice chips. And I'm like, I'm about to throw up, please. They was like, well, we can give you a baggie. And so they gave me a little baggie. And of course, I am puking so bad to the point where I can't breathe. And so, like, you know, excuse me, but I fussed the nurses out to please give me some water, because for one, I cannot breathe. I am hot. I need something in my system. I've lost all of this blood, and I can't breathe, and I'm throwing up everything in my insides. So just give me some water. So they give me ice chips with a little bit of water, which was fine to me because I needed it. So I drank a little bit of that. I go into the room to do the vaginal ultrasound. I'm kind of like really hurting, you know, because this is a traumatic experience for me. So after the vaginal ultrasound, we wait another, hour? And they were like, oh, everything's clear. There's nothing left in you or whatever. You can basically leave. They didn't hook me up to no IVs to put any fluids in my system. I had already lost all of this blood. I've been throwing up everything in my system, and now I'm just really weak. They didn't do any of that. I don't know if they're supposed to, but they didn't give me any type of fluids when all of that happened. So, of course, I leave. And it's a very traumatic experience for me. So, what happened next was kind of really horrible to me, because I think a few days afterwards, I'm calling out of work every day. I let my operations manager know what's going on. I let my supervisor know what was going on. And, of course, they were understanding. They put me on a mandatory leave of absence due to medical reasons. And so that's fine. At least to me. I thought so. And then, while I'm going through that, I thought the very next day after I had it that I could try and walk. I could barely walk 5 steps around my house without feeling like I was about to pass out. That's how weak my body was. So I had to give myself a couple of days before I could get better. But then within that, I had, really bad insomnia. I could not sleep at night. I tried to find ways to make myself go to sleep and I couldn't. And so with that going on, I ended up developing a really bad headache. And I remember it was on a Thursday night. Don't remember the date, but I remember it was on a Thursday night. Of course, in the beginning of April. Maybe the first week of April. A very, very, very bad headache. Thursday night to Friday morning. And then all Friday. Then all Saturday. Then all Sunday. For 5 or 6 days, I had these really, really bad, really bad headaches. And I'm like, what's going on? It was to the point where I would wake up crying, praying that these headaches would go away because they were really bad. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it's a migraine. I'm not sensitive to light. It was none of that. It was just a really, really, really bad headache. I can go outside, try to get some air. I could barely walk anywhere. I was tired all the time. I was trying to tell myself, do not go into a depressive mode. Please do not go depressed because I don't want you to get depressed, Tona. So I'm just like, okay, don't get depressed, don't get depressed, don't get depressed. And really, I'm really just at this point depressed. I can't sleep. I have really bad, every few nights or few days, I have, bad, tantrums to where I'm really angry, I'm really upset, I'm crying, I'm screaming, I'm yelling at my partner. And honestly, this is why I respect him so much, because he's just like, what you're going through is something really hard. And I understand why you're going through that. So basically express myself, and he just lets me go through it. He just hugs me. He talks to me because it's hard for him to, but he's not very well at expressing himself. So it's like his emotions is coming through me as well. So he's just really by my side and very supportive, and I absolutely love it. So I'm looking online, when does my miscarriage finish? Because of course we want to try again so we can have, of course, another baby. So I'm just bleeding all the time. The bleeding just never stops. It goes on for a month. Bleeding doesn't stop. So then it gets really light to where there's nothing. I'm like, okay, well then maybe it's done with, so we can try for a baby. No. We have sex. Less than an hour. I put on a panty liner because I'm like, okay, well, I'm not used to not wearing anything because I've been wearing a pad for about a month. I go to Walmart and then a huge gush comes out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need some more pads. Get some more pads. I'm bleeding heavy for 4 or 5 days. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then, of course, every few days I'm going in to see my HCG levels, which are my pregnancy levels, go down. And so they're like, we're going to call you for your results. We're going to call you for your results. They don't call me at all. They do not call me at all. So I want to say it was around April 14th. And they're just like, okay, come in for your testing. I come in, I'm like, I let the nurse know I'm not getting any results. What's going on? What's my results? Is it going down? I had sex a couple, days ago because I wasn't really bleeding, or the bleeding had stopped, and I had sex. So what's going on? And so she was like, okay, well, you can go online and you can see your results. Okay. I log in online eventually to see my results. Each test I've taken, it had my results, and it was going down. So I'm like, okay, well, soon I can start, because apparently I'm still bleeding. So then after the light bleeding, and then it had stopped, and then of course I had sex, and then for an additional 2 or 3 weeks, I was bleeding so heavy. I'm like, what's going on? My body is acting really weird. It's bleeding for a long time. I'm like, okay, it's going on 2 months now. Why am I still bleeding? This is crazy to me. It's insane. I've looked in YouTube videos. I've just looked it up, and there was nothing that could explain to me why I was bleeding for so long. So of course I'm making appointments. Hey, what's going on? I'm still bleeding. I know I shouldn't be bleeding this long. So I make an appointment with a doctor to check me, and she's just like, oh well, at this point, your last test levels was at like a 680 or 600. So what we want to do is check to see if your HCG levels have gone up or have gone down, because it is possible that when you weren't bleeding, that you could have gotten pregnant and your HCG levels went up, and you can honestly still be pregnant and still bleeding at the same time. Okay, cool. It's like 600. So they took my HCG levels and they gave me a call the next day, of course, posting it online. And my levels went from a 600 to like a 89. I'm like, okay, it's going down. But from 600 to 89, a month had passed. That was like in a whole month. From 600 to 89, a whole month had passed. And so I'm like, okay. They were just like, well, come in every week until we're basically at 0. Okay, fine with me. So at 89, I come in, of course, the following week. Then my HCG levels go down to like a 14 or 18. Sorry, guys, my dogs are like fighting like little puppies. Like a 14 or 18. Okay, it's going down. You know, in between that week, my bleeding had stopped. They told me that I could possibly have had my first period, and my body's just getting back to normal. Okay, cool. So I had stopped bleeding for like 1 to 2 weeks. I'm excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, because the smell of the iron in the blood was just horrific to me. I hated it. I'm tired of smelling blood. Like, at this point, I'm just like, why do I gotta go through all of this? Like, this is hard. This is a horrible experience for me, me to be a first-time person to get pregnant and have a miscarriage. Like, it's lasting way too long. So, of course, I go in for another testing. At this point, my testing had went down to a 7. But before I found out it was at a 7, I got a call from the nurse, and it was just like, oh, we have your test results from your HCG, and it's in the negatives. I'm excited at this point. I'm not bleeding. Of course, I'm having intercourse, trying to get ready for another baby. And they're just like, yeah, it's a negative. I check online when they post my results. I'm actually at a 7. Don't know why they said negative, but okay. Then a few days later, which was about, I want to say sometime last week, I start bleeding again. I'm just like, so is this a period after a period? What's going on? Today's date right now is July 5th. I start bleeding again. Oh, it's another period. I'm so like my body's just going through so much right now. I don't know what's going on. It's a period. So then I'm bleeding, and like it's slowly becoming from light to heavy. And like for 3 days, it was really heavy bleeding. Really heavy. And I'm like, at this point, I'm tired. I'm tired of all of this bleeding. So we go to yesterday, July 4th. I go and I wipe myself. And it's my baby. My embryo. And the reason why I knew it was because I wiped myself. I'm very curious. When I wiped, it was something weird. It wasn't a blood clot. It wasn't discharge. It was something else. It was different to me. So I'm like, what is this? So I look, and it came out of me. I'm going to touch it. So I'm touching. I'm like, what is this? And I look, I see 2 eyes and a mouth. I'm like, it's been 3 months. Was I pregnant and then had another miscarriage? But no, but then the time frame of me having sex, it shouldn't really show eyes and a mouth. And I'm just like, was I having twins? Because I'm a twin. He's a twin. His father's a twin. My grandfather's a twin. We have twins in my family, twins in his family. So I'm like, well, maybe when they told me before everything was removed, it really wasn't. So maybe I was having twins and didn't know. Okay, I can accept that. But I need to see what's going on. I go to the hospital. I'm waiting. Frustrated, irritated, confused, I do not know what's going on. I've been dealing with so much. My body's been going through so much traumatic stress. I don't know what to think at this point. Is this from my first miscarriage? Is this a recent miscarriage? What's going on? What's really going on? Go to the hospital. The same hospital, by the way, that I experienced my first miscarriage at. And I'm waiting. I swear it was about 35, 40 minutes. I'm waiting for a nurse to call me. I put my embryo in a Ziploc bag with the tissue that I wiped with. I brought it with me. And I finally get called, and they're just like, we're gonna do a pregnancy test. Why? Okay. Do a pregnancy test. Well, we're doing the pregnancy test because we want to make sure it's not like a recent miscarriage. The pregnancy test will let us know if it's a very recent miscarriage. Okay. I do my pregnancy test. It comes back negative. And they tell me, well, because your test was negative, it's possible that you have, it was a blood clot or a discharge. And I'm telling the nurse, I know for a fact it's not discharge or a blood clot. Because neither one of those, for one, are hard, and for two, have eyes and a mouth. How are you going to tell me that what just came out of my body is discharge or blood clot? But I'm trying not to be this angry woman about it. So I'm calm, I'm hurt, I'm confused, but I'm calm. I'm listening to the nurse as she's talking to me. She's letting me know we can't do anything for you because you're not experiencing pain, which I wasn't. We can't test what you brought in today, which was my embryo, because your pregnancy test is negative. You can't do anything for me because my pregnancy test is negative. You can't test my embryo to let me know for sure when I lost my baby. They did confirm that because it was negative, it wasn't a recent miscarriage. So this is my baby from my very first miscarriage back in March, which is why my pregnancy levels have been going down at an extremely low, slow, very slow rate. For 3 months, my pregnancy levels has been going down super slow. And that's why I say I've been miscarrying for about 2.5, 3 months. From March to July, I don't know if I'm having a period or what's going on, but I'm bleeding this whole time. It lasted a long time. So they discharged me from the hospital. They can't do anything for me. They did tell me that if I wanted to check my quantitative level, basically my HCG levels, it would be another 2-hour wait. No. They said they can set me up with a doctor to come in later this week to test my levels. Okay, I'll do that. But if you just told me that my test was negative, why are we doing another test anyway if you just told me it was negative? So they discharged me from the hospital. I left. Now, I'm supposed to have just a little bit of family come over for the 4th of July. I'm really not for 4th of July, but of course, kids love to see fireworks, want to have a cookout. Cool. It's a very traumatic day for me. I'm trying not to keep my mind on it because if anything, my family and his family doesn't really even know that I was even pregnant at the moment because we were waiting until I got out of my first trimester to really let everyone know about my pregnancy. And so, his family comes over, some of my family come over. No one really knows what's going on. They didn't know about the miscarriage. They don't even know what happened today. They come to our house for the 4th of July cookout, and that's cool. It's cool, but I have to act like nothing happened, even though deep down we both know what happened. And so it's just mentally on my mind. I've went through all of this for 2.5, 3 months, and I want to try for a baby, but it's been so traumatic for me. I'm holding back the tears because I'm so tired of crying. At this point, all I have to do is to be strong. And I want to share my story because I don't know if anyone else has been experiencing anything that I've been through. I don't know if anyone has been going through a miscarriage for 2 or 3 months. I don't know if anyone has been bleeding for as long as I've been bleeding. But I do know that no one has posted a video to say that they've been bleeding for this long. And I have. Right now, I'm still bleeding. Am I having a period? I don't know. Is this a result from a miscarriage? I don't know. But I'm still bleeding. And the hospital said, the women's hospital, they just opened up. Tell me they can't do anything for me. They can't. So now I really don't know what to do. Let this just happen. And so now, what did I do with my embryo? I kept it. And I've been planting flowers. And so I had a plant that was growing. And I decided to use something bigger. And I put my embryo in it. And I'm just going to continue to grow whatever plant is growing with my embryo, with my baby. Because before I let a hospital dispose of my baby, because you can't test it, all you're going to do is dispose of it. I'd rather put something to use for it. And maybe some may feel some type of way about it, but I got to do something. No one can do anything for me. So this is my story. And I just honestly hope it helps someone. Someone who's concerned, who's going through the same thing that I've went through or that I'm still going through. It just helps someone. All I feel is hurt, pain. I want to cry so much during this video, but I'm not. But all I can think about right now is the confusion on my face when I saw my embryo. When I saw the eyes. When I saw the mouth. And I touched my baby. My very first child. My angel. They'll forever be loved. Because he or she was mine. And I just really have to be strong for my baby. And I just really hope this video really helps someone. Because just as much as you feel and know that your partner is there for you, there's still a portion of you that feels so alone. Because physically, they're not dealing with what you're dealing with. They're not. The emotion you're feeling is different from their emotion. The physical pain that you're feeling is different from their pain. Because you're always bleeding. You're hurting. You may have suicidal thoughts, but just be strong. Because you're going to be okay. I hate that my puppies are making so much noise in my video, but it's okay. Gotta be strong. I have to be strong. And I will be. So whoever has any questions, concerns, I can only give information based off of what I experienced. All I know is if you've gone for so long, you know, with your bleeding, just highly recommend that someone sees you besides taking your blood. Check your body out to see, because I would have never known my baby was still in me. And no one ever recommended that I go get looked at. And I lost my baby. They say 5 to 6 weeks. But now I can't confirm it. So whichever week that I was at where I can have eyes and a mouth, that's when I lost my baby. And I hope this helps someone. And to all the mamas who's expecting their rainbow baby, you will get your rainbow baby. Just be strong, because I'm being strong. And I will see my baby again in another lifetime. And my baby's gonna know that I love him or her. So to all of you, please be blessed. Have a good day. And I really hope that this helps you. Thank you.